On February 28, 2026, the United States launched Operation Epic Fury. F-22 Raptors flew over Iranian airspace. They were not detected. Not by radar, not by infrared, not by anything Iran had. CENTCOM called it the largest concentration of American military firepower in a generation. The strikes were precise, the results were immediate, and the aircraft at the center of it all, the one no adversary could track, and was a plane the U.S. built in 1997 and never sold to anyone, not once, not even to its closest allies. That is the F-22 Raptor, and you cannot ignore it. To understand why this aircraft matters right now, you need to understand what kind of world it was built for and what kind of world it ended up flying in. The F-22 began as a Cold War answer to Soviet jets, the MiG-29, the Su-27. The U.S. Air Force looked at what Moscow was developing and decided it needed something categorically different. Not better by degrees, different by design. The program started in the mid-1980s. By the time the aircraft entered service in 2005, the Soviet Union had been gone for 14 years. The threat it was built to defeat no longer existed, and yet the aircraft was more capable, more expensive, and more consequential than anyone had anticipated. That tension between the world the Raptor was designed for and the world it actually flies in is where this story gets interesting. Here is what the F-22 actually does. It flies at Mach 2.25. It supercruises, meaning it sustains supersonic speed without afterburners, at speeds officially above Mach 1.5, with some estimates reaching Mach 1.82. Its radar cross-section is 0.0001 square meters. To put that in context, a standard fighter appears on radar as roughly the size of a car. The F-22 appears as a bumblebee, a metal ball, something so small that by the time an enemy radar resolves the contact, the missile has already been fired. Its weapons are stored internally. No external pylons, no drag, no signature. The AIM-120 AMR AAM it carries has had its range extended, its guidance enhanced, its processing power upgraded through the F-22's own modernization program. The aircraft does not just find the target first, it kills the target first. Then it leaves before the enemy knows it was there. This is not an accident. This is the entire thesis. The Pratt & Whitney F-119 engines produce over 35,000 pounds of thrust each. The thrust vectoring nozzles move 20 degrees in the pitch axis. That means the aircraft can point its nose independent of where it is flying. In a close-range dogfight, that is decisive. In a beyond visual range engagement, the stealth and the AMRAAM combination means the dogfight never happens. The F-22 kills at range, invisibly, and the other pilot dies not knowing there was a threat. That is what the Air Force calls first look, first shot, first kill. Every other aircraft in the world gets two of those three. The Raptor gets all three simultaneously. Now here is the number that defines everything, 187. That is the total number of F-22s ever built. Not the number currently flying, the number ever produced. The original plan called for 750 aircraft. The Air Force later accepted 381. Political pressure, cost concerns, and a post-Cold War sense of strategic comfort drove that number down year after year until Congress finally closed the line in 2011. The last aircraft was delivered in May 2012. Total program cost, $67.3 billion, roughly $360 million per aircraft. No country has ever purchased one. No ally has ever flown one. An amendment passed in 1998 banned export permanently, citing the classified nature of the stealth technology. Australia wanted them. Japan pushed hard for them. Israel requested them. The answer was always the same. No, not for sale, not at any price. That decision had consequences nobody fully calculated at the time. Without export orders, there were no economies of scale. The production line stayed expensive. The per-unit cost kept climbing. The industrial base that could have been sustained by international orders slowly contracted. And when the U.S. military eventually wanted more Raptors, the line was gone. The tooling was gone. The supply chain had been disbanded. Restarting production today would cost, by most estimates, between $50 billion and $60 billion before a single new aircraft flew. The U.S. built 187 of the most capable air superiority fighters ever constructed, and then made it structurally impossible to build more. That is the strategic paradox the Air Force has been living with ever since. So what does the Pentagon do with 187 irreplaceable aircraft? It upgrades them. At the February 2026 Air and Space Forces Association Warfare Symposium, Lockheed Martin revealed what it informally calls Raptor 2.0, stealthy external fuel tanks that add 850 miles of combat radius, not transit range, combat radius. The tanks maintain low observability throughout the mission. They do not get jettisoned before the fight. They stay on. That distinction matters enormously. Traditional external tanks force a pilot to choose between range and stealth. The new tanks eliminate that choice. Alongside them, underwing infrared search and track pods. IRST systems detect enemy aircraft by their heat signatures, not by radar. Stealth aircraft reduce radar returns. They do not eliminate infrared emissions. Engine exhaust, airframe heating, the thermal plume of a fast-moving jet through cold air. The IRST pod finds all of it passively without emitting anything detectable. The F-22 in 2026 can hunt stealth aircraft while remaining electronically silent. That is a different kind of dominance than it had in 2005. Then came February 28th, Operation Epic Fury. The F-22s were already in Israel. KC-135s and KC-46 tankers were positioned across the region. The strikes on Iran were simultaneous, coordinated, and executed against one of the most layered air defense networks in the Middle East. Iranian radar systems, Russian-supplied surface-to-air missiles, integrated command networks designed specifically to defeat stealth incursions. None of it stopped the Raptors. Task and purpose confirmed the F-22s were among the fighters moved forward for the operation. CENTCOM's own description was explicit. Largest regional concentration of American military firepower in a generation. The F-22 was not there as a symbol. It was there because no other aircraft could execute the mission with the same probability of survival and the same guarantee of lethality. 21 years after entering service, the aircraft remained the one the planners trusted most when the stakes were absolute. The Air Force now projects the F-22 flying until 2060. That is 55 years from first flight. The upgrades are not cosmetic. The IRST pods, the stealthy fuel tanks, the updated radar systems, the enhanced AMRAAM integration, all of it is designed to keep the Raptor relevant against fifth-generation threats from China and Russia that did not exist when the aircraft was designed. China's J-20, Russia's Su-57. Both are stealth fighters. Both are being produced in numbers that the F-22 fleet cannot match. The U.S. answer is not to build more Raptors. The line is closed. The U.S. answer is to make the 187 it has more capable than anything those countries can field. Whether that calculus holds as Chinese production scales and the Raptor fleet ages is the question American strategists are running numbers on right now. The fleet is small, it is irreplaceable, and in every contested airspace scenario the Pentagon has modeled, it is still the aircraft that goes in first.